Here is some of the tools I'm going to need. I'm going to need disinfecting wipes, some paper towel, plastic container, pruners, paraffin, something to mark our cuttings, something to cut the cuttings. Also, I like to take a note of where did I get my cuttings, what did I get, and planting date, anything concerning to the planting I'm going to do. I just take some notes because few days from now I'm not going to remember, so always taking notes is good. Okay, I have cuttings from 3 different vendors. So for today we're just going to start inspecting our cuttings. I know this vendor, my order was incomplete. So we open our package and inspect our cuttings to see what we got and what we are going to work with. And here is some examples of what you can receive in the mail when you get cuttings. Many things can happen. Sometimes you don't get what you order or you get less quantity. Each person can pack the routines different. Some are marked so you know what cutting is. Some can come in a plastic bag. So the plastic bag has a name, but the cutting itself not. So you need to be prepared to mark your cuttings right away. Otherwise you don't know what you're going to get. Some cuttings are very thin, and this one still has green. These ones are good size, but again, they are no mark. And during shipping, the time that it takes for the cutting to arrive to your home, things can happen like this. It has humidity trapped inside and already is damaged in both sides of the cutting. Some mold. I'm not sure if you can see, but this is already mold. The same with this cutting. You can see maybe in the back, maybe it's possible to see it, it's already some condensation, which means my cutting is start to develop mold in there. This is already mold forming. So it's very important to inspect the cuttings. So something like this is nice and thick, but it no has marking. So before I do anything, I'm going to grab a marker and put at least the initials of the cutting. And for something that big, I don't have too much strength in my hands. I maybe will be using this tool. Most likely, I will have to use the Japanese cutting tool. And here I already mark some of the cuttings. So like in this one, I just put the initials. I draw a mark where I'm going to tentatively do the cut. So we need to identify the knots. Usually you have the scar mark in here and a knot coming out. So the knot goes over the scar mark. And those little dots, and that is where your roots will be coming from. Usually we need 1 or 2 knots in the growing medium. So, and here I'm going to cut and remove this little portion. That way this is close to the knot, the cut, and then I'm going to have 1 and 2 knots on the ground and this section above the ground or the growing medium. So in here, I'm going to do a second cut, and I'm going to have, in the next cutting, I'm going to have this section with 2 knots inside the growing medium and this little section above. So I'm not sure if you can see, but then here I just put the initials of the cutting. Because again, once I cut this in half, if this section is not marked, then we don't know what we have in our hands, what we're working with. I did that with all the cuttings. So then I'm just going to wash this, a gentle wash with scrub. Once you wash, you will see this it just clear up a little bit. After I wash my cuttings, I let them dry a little bit. I then clean them just with a disinfecting wipe. I just pass the disinfecting wipe over them. You still can remove some green stuff, dust, who knows what is in there, but still get some stuff in there. So I just clean them. And then I'm going to divide those cuttings in half when possible. So for example, in here, then I'm already just going to cut where I previously marked. Look at your cutting, identify the knot, and do a mark where you're going to cut. And here I'm going to cut, and here leave this knot under the ground or growing medium, and this one probably is going to be exposed. So in the area that's going to be exposed, I put a little mark to identify the cutting with the initials. I will cut in here, and then I will leave this section under the ground or growing medium, and in here I'll put another initials again. That way I know what cutting variety I have. So our tools, we are going to disinfect our tools with the disinfectant wipe, and I'm just going to cut this section. By marking the sections, it makes it just easier for me. Just caution, do not hurt yourself. And you see in some of the cuttings, you still have the latex coming out. So now you have 2 cuttings that you can work with. Some other cuttings, I'm just going to leave the whole 2 knots under the growing medium. So now these, I just put them in water, just for a few minutes, doesn't really matter, 1 hour. The thick cuttings, those ones, we cannot use our pruners, so I'm going to remove the tips with the Japanese cutting tool. As you can see, the area that was already damaged is removed, and now we have a clean area. I'm just going to put this in water with the other cuttings. I will finish the cutting, and then I will clean my area, and then we will continue with the next step. Okay, now we have cinnamon, and cinnamon has a good antiseptic properties, antifungal properties. Every time you trim a cutting or you prune your trees, that fresh wound is going to be wet because it's going to have latex. So I like to apply cinnamon in the fresh cut that dry up all the wetness from the latex and kind of seal the cutting. so it just prevents diseases. I like to do that in the cutting, so I just grab each cutting. This section will go on the medium ground, so I'm not worried too much about that. But this section, this is important, so I'm just going to go ahead and dip the cutting, cover that with cinnamon. I'll maybe put more in this central section. But this cutting, it was a little bit wet, and this will help seal the wound. The cuttings that I got from Harvey this year, they are coming also with cinnamon at the end. So I just do this, put my cuttings in here, and then this will dry. Do this in every cutting. This cutting, it looks okay, but after closer inspection, if I move this area, I can see we have mold already forming in there. I hope you can see in there in the camera, but there's mold already in the tip. So what we're going to do is cut in here, and my tool is disinfected already, so I'm just going to cut the tip. And now we are going to dip this section on cinnamon. And then just let this dry. Once I identify what section of the cutting is going to be on the medium, so I'm going to put about this much inside. Then we are going to cover this section with paraffin, and you can leave like 1 inch, and here there is uncovered, but covering the cutting with paraffin, it will prevent moisture to escape. And you're going to use paraffin. This is a stretchy material. It takes a little bit of practice, but it's very easy to apply. You can get this from different vendors. I get mine from New York Fix and Fitbit. So I'm going to leave a section there is uncovered. I like to just put my finger, put some pressure in there, and start stretching. You see how this stretch? Just start stretching. And I'm working with the Genovese Nero cutting. So just put pressure in there and start rotating your feet cutting. And here, you don't want to go over and double the paraffin. You just go to the very end, and here you just a little bit of overlap, and just continue stretching and working your way up. Stretching, working the way up. Until you get to the very top. And this probably is easier with this thick cutting than not with the thin cuttings, but you will get with practice. So in here, you see the start kind of sealing the tip. This already have the cinnamon. So just go around. Okay, we'll just loosen there a little bit, but we go around this area. I put too much pressure in there. Okay, there you go. Kind of seal. Go over and just cut. Okay. Probably I'm going to remove a little bit more of maybe this. I don't want to have too much paraffin in here at the top. That way I'm able to see and inspect the top of my cuttings. But that's it. So I will do this with all the cuttings. So now we are going to prepare our growing medium. I'm using Promix HP, and when you open that bag, some bags, the growing medium is a little bit more moist. This one in my cases is very dry. I'm going to use a just plastic container, some water, and I like to use the 24 ounces clear plastic cups is where I'm going to use to put my fig cuttings. So I use the same cup and I fill the cup to the top. I have about 10, 11 cuttings to do today. So I'm just going to put 10 cups of growing medium in here, and then I'm going to start with adding 1 cup of water. So it will be like 10 to 1. Then I just let that water sit for a little bit, let this absorb some of the water, and then I will start assessing the growing media for the right amount of moisture. I'm going to show you an example of good growing medium mixture. This is good. I open my hand and it's still conserved the form. This is too dry. It's just way too dry. And this, it has a little bit of water in there. So if this corner, if I mix the growing medium with the water and I squeeze and I'm able to, you see the water coming out in my hand? That is too wet. So this is too wet. This is too dry. This, I squeeze, I don't get water coming out. I open my hand and I can still conserve some form. This is a good level of moisture in my growing medium. Okay, we are going to continue the project of rooting some fig cuttings. So now what we are going to use is the clear cups, plastic cups, 24 ounces is what I'm using. I already opened some holes in the bottom of these cups. And so I have them here at the side. I'm going to use ties, something that you can bend and tie. What you use is up to you. I'm going to use plastic bags, and these ones are way too big. But anything they can cover at least the size of the cup is fine. Also, I already did some labels to put over the cups to identify what cutting variety you have. We are going to add Clonix rooting gel to our cuttings. And I don't want to contaminate the whole bottle, so I just have a little slit in here. I'm going to pour some of the product to a little clear cup, and then just what is in the cup. That way this is still nice and clean. With the cuttings in this area, the roots are going to start generating. So we can just score the area, just like that, or we can go ahead and remove a little piece of the green wood and put the rooting gel around this area. And this is optional. Some people just put rooting gel in here. Some people don't put rooting gel at all. So you can do any method you want, really. Fill out your cups and just make sure there's no big gaps of air. Everything is filled out with the growing medium. Then grab your cutting, estimate how much you're going to put inside in the medium. So I'm just going to put like about this section. And I'm going to use something, a screwdriver, marker, you can use anything really. So in here, I'm going to put about this amount of cutting inside. So I'm just going to open a hole and just go around. Kind of open that a little bit, just to make it easy. Then I just use my finger, put rooting gel around the area, no need to be a big amount. So just around this knot. And then you are just going to stick the cutting in the ground. Put some pressure in here. You want to compact the soil a little bit. You don't want big gaps of air in there. If you need, you can add more soil in the top. That's fine, it's up to you. And now let me clean my hands. Before I do anything else, I will try to mark the cup with the name of the cutting. Now that I have my cuttings and the cups, and I put a label on them, then I'm going to grab a plastic bag. It's open, put the cutting in there, and I'm just going to tie this. And I'm doing this to try to conserve moisture in the growing medium. Then I'm just going to grab zip tie or whatever you have, and I'm going to tie it. And then you just open this section. Just open it. Leave that. And that's it. We're going to do that to all the three cuttings. I'm going to use just a plastic container. You can use one of those big totes, but I'm going to use these small containers, and I'm just going to put a trash bag. I'm just going to open these. And I'm going to be placing the cuttings in here, all nice and tight. This bag is going to protect the cuttings from the light. And then I'm just going to put this over a hidden mat. If you have one that it has the temperature control, is better. You want to keep your cuttings between 75 and 80 degrees, but this is going to stay away from the light until they start producing leaves. Once they start producing leaves, which can take at least a month, then you can place them or expose this to the light, being growing lights or outside. But this way you can just always check and see how your roots are developing. Also, if you want, you can weight each little cup and write how much your container weighs. And then you can go by the weight of the container. If it starts getting too light, and then you can add water. But this is the process, and I will do an update later on in post. Thank you. As you can see, I keep my feed cuttings protected from the light with simple trash bags, and they are in plastic container and they are overheating pads. I went and checked, and the cuttings I start February 25th. We already have good leaf grow, and then when I check the root system, first we can see some moisture there in the top, and that is good. And then I can see all those roots forming. However, we don't have secondary roots, which they are teeny root hair-like coming off these main roots. So before even thinking on repotting something like this, we need to make sure we have secondary roots. We don't want these roots to be exposed to the light, so what we're going to do is cover or protect these. I'm going to use some aluminum paper, like I already have in this other cutting. I put aluminum paper around. As you can see, we have roots all the way to the bottom, but yet I don't see secondary roots. So these cuttings benefit now from some light. I'm just going to put them under lights, and I have here a simple small setup. It's a small white rack. I secure my lights, and then I have a hidden pad. So what we are going to do is just place these cuttings in here, and I want to put them inside a plastic container. I want to reduce some of the heat. So if you add the heat from the pad and the heat from the light, it's going to be too much heat. So this time is crucial. You need to be checking that medium. You have to make sure to start adding water when it's needed. And for that, I like to use a moisture tool, and this can help me guide if my cutting needs water. And what I do is I mix some fertilizer, a quarter of the strength of fertilizer to the water, and you don't want to apply full fertilizer because your plant is going to be in shock, will be too much. We start with a quarter strength, and then adding slowly to these plants. Also, I will show you later, but when I did my cuttings, I add little holes. I don't know if you can see it, but these cups, they have holes. And this, because when I'm ready to start adding water, I'm going to remove these plastic bags, and then I'm going to add the water in the plastic container and let the plant absorb the water from the bottom. This is going to make the plant actually look for the water, and it stimulates root development deep down in the cup. And when I get to that point, I will show you exactly what we do. Thank you.